And good morning. Welcome to Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Yes, congratulations. Give yourself a little pat on the back. You've reached the end of the week, the weekend coming around. Looking forward to tomorrow, the big Fall Downtown Fest happening downtown Beaver Dam. So much fun stuff happening downtown tomorrow. We've got trick-or-treating all day. I think the Chamber of Commerce said around 40 different businesses downtown going to be participating in the trick-or-treating. That'll start out at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Of course, the big casket races is the big feature that everybody wants to go down and watch. The procession for that will start at 1 o'clock, and then the races will get underway at 1:30. About 16 teams going to be racing, so going to be a lot of fun, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. You've got music, you've got fantastic food vendors. You can visit all the great stores downtown, so going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you get ready for that. And of course, you can check out a complete schedule, a map of everything happening downtown at visitbeaverdam.com. Really excited to see our team will be down there. Really excited to see everyone down there. Big, if you're a sports fan, it's going to be a great weekend. Of course, coming up later tonight, the WIA postseason gets underway. Week one of the postseason, and we've got a couple of great games coming up for you tonight. A couple of local teams that have had some phenomenal seasons, winning some conference championships and looking for a great postseason. Of course, Beaver Dam going to be up at Menasha tonight. Wade Bates, Tim Ladrin, and Jack Wilski will be Corey Sparks going to be on the road up in Menasha, bringing you that game on our sister station, 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam, and on Daily Dodge TV. And on the other side, Columbus going to be hosting Arcadia tonight. Mike Trotz and Tim Haldeman and Charlie Dern will be down in Columbus, bringing you coverage of that game here on Daily Dodge TV. And then, of course, tomorrow, Wisconsin football. It is homecoming week for Wisconsin. It's been a big week down in Madison. Just saw some pictures of Phil the Hill happening down there at Bascom Hill. So it should be a fun one as the Badgers get set to host Penn State for their homecoming. And pregame for that one at 4:30 here on 95.3 WBEV, kickoff at 6:30. And then coming up on Sunday, the Pack is headed down to Jacksonville. And that game will be right here on 95.3 WBEV, pregame at 10 a.m. and kickoff at 12 noon. Also tonight, for all you Bucks fans, the Bucks hosting the Chicago Bulls tonight here on 95.3 WBEV, 6:30. Our coverage begins on that. We're really excited about the show today. Coming up here in just a little bit, we're going to visit with a couple of authors who have a new book out about one of my favorite subjects, food. Yes, we get to talk about food, which has me super excited. That is coming up on Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering, also brought to you by McKinstry's Home Furnishings here on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome back to Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV. Professional Floor Covering is the store for your floor and so much more. Pay them a visit at 713 Park Avenue in Beaver Dam or visit them online at proflr.com. Not much longer left on the Gold Take sale happening this month at Professional Floor Covering. And, of course, during that Gold Take sale, if you're looking for carpet, you've been maybe thinking about replacing that old carpet, or the floors are just done for you, need to put carpet in, now is a great time during the Gold Take sale because, of course, they've got over 40 rolls of in-stock carpet on sale, plus all that in-stock carpet gets a free carpet cushion as well. So take advantage of that. Of course, they've got the Abbey carpets and the Stanton carpets. Really good, trusted name, good high-quality carpet. They've also got a great selection of LVP and real hardwood flooring. They can also set you up with any countertop needs you have. They've got quartz, granite, laminate, cultured marble, plus cabinetry and all that stuff. And they're also happy to do free in-home measurements and quotes and help you out with a free in-store consultation as well. So visit them today at 713 Park Avenue in Beaver Dam or online at proflr.com. On our first hour of the show today, really excited to welcome our first guest because we get to chat a little bit about food. We welcome into the show authors Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, authors of the new book, Extra Extra, Eat All About It. Extra, Extra, Eat All About It. Love that title. Jane and Randi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, we're excited to have you here and excited to talk about the book. I am not a big reader, but you piqued my attention when you talk about food. You have my attention. So we're going to talk a little bit about the book, and it's a really, really, really interesting read. But first, let's get to know a little bit about you and your backgrounds and how you came to be. Jane, let's start with you. Talk a little bit about your background.
Well, I came to Wisconsin and started working at the Wisconsin Historical Society, where I eventually met Randi. And I studied art history in school, and during that time I worked for a program called Chronicling America, which digitized historic newspapers, and that's how I kind of fell into this love with historic newspapers and what's contained inside of them.
How is writing a book something that's been something you've wanted to do for quite a while, or is that something you kind of fell into through your other work?
It's kind of funny. I'd never thought in a million years I would write a book.
Okay.
So we fell into it naturally, and it's been really exciting, but something I never thought I would have done.
I mean, did you ever do much writing before this?
I mean, you had to write a lot for school, studying art history. It's tons of essays that you're turning in, but no, nothing compared to this. This was, big project. Do you have a big love of food as well, or is kind of that newspaper historical stuff really kind of what drew you to this project? No, I do love food. Yes. And that definitely was what we both started noticing in the pages of newspapers were these amazing recipes.
Okay, very good. Mm-hmm. We should mention the book, Extra Extra, Eat All About It. It's a collection of recipes and culinary curiosities from historic Wisconsin newspapers. That's Jane Conway. Randi Julia Ramsden is also here. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I studied American Studies with kind of a focus on history and politics, and started when I moved to Wisconsin full-time in 2016, got a job at the Wisconsin Historical Society. I had done research on historic newspapers before, and I fell into the program, the National Digital Newspaper Program there, where I met Jane. Mm-hmm. And I actually always wanted to write a book.
Okay.
Since I could write, I always novel, right? Like in elementary school, I was starting my first novel, and always thought that was going to be the way. It turned out to be nonfiction, though. So, and I think that was, like Jane said, kind of through studying, writing lots of essays, and took some creative nonfiction classes, and that's how I convinced Jane we should write.
It's very useful to have someone on our team that really wanted to write a book. Yeah,
I'm sensing a little yin to your yang there.
Yes, it's perfect pairing.
Seems like
in that
it worked
way.
out really, really well, and you both met through the Historical Society.
Yes.
Is writing books something you want to continue to do then?
Oh, I love writing. I love doing the research. But it's also right. It should have a purpose. and bringing these essays to people, to just like little tidbits of history. It's been really fun, especially like to people who say they're not readers. Right? That it's short enough and they learn something. And so I could see myself doing that.
So you did a little bit of political studies, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So are you one of those rare people in this season that's happening right now that like isn't just wanting everything to be over and be past election day? Like you kind of get intrigued by watching everything?
Yeah, right. It is really, well, I came here in 2016, so that was a very interesting election year as well, to just kind of see. But we're actually planning on having, it's an old tradition to bake an election cake. It's like a...
Really?
Yeah. So we're going to bake, and no matter what happens, we're going to celebrate with a cake.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that. Yeah. Wow, an election cake. Yeah. I might have to consider something like that myself. That's a pretty good idea. Talk a little bit about what you were working on that had you looking through so many newspapers. Was that just kind of part of the job?
It was part of the job. So we worked for the National Digital Newspaper Program, which provides funding for states to digitize their historic newspapers. So in our work, we were literally looking through thousands of pages of historic Wisconsin newspapers, days on end. Because when you're digitizing them, you need to make sure that the images are crisp, there's nothing wrong with them, so you kind of end up reading what's in them anyways. And these recipes just started to stand out to us. We noticed the really tasty ones, and then there were a lot of recipes that were so strange sounding and just frankly awful, and we loved sharing those with each other.
We're chatting with Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, authors of the new book Extra Extra, Eat All About It, Recipes and Culinary Curiosities. Say that 10 times fast. From historic Wisconsin newspapers. There's how many recipes are in there? 50 recipes from historical Wisconsin newspapers, and we're going to chat a little more in depth about the book, some of the recipes that you're going to find in there, some of the things that you're going to read about in there when we come back with more of Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome back to Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering, also brought to you by McKinstry's Home Furnishings here on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. We're chatting with Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, authors of Extra Extra, Eat All About It, a new book, Recipes and Culinary Curiosities from Historic Wisconsin Newspapers. And want to chat a little bit about the book, and obviously that kind of explains a little bit about what it is. First of all, love the title. Who came up with that?
It's all Randi.
Yeah.
You have a gift with puns. And
we were at work, and we were just talking about it, and maybe that's it. Because we had a series on the website, and it was cooking up history. And so we thought for a book it would have to be something like that.
Yeah, something like
clever,
that.
Something clever. I mean, it catches the eye.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and then we really wanted people to know these are from newspapers, right? And then extra.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pull from that old inspiration of the old extra, read all about it. That's so clever. I knew as soon as our producer Charlie tossed it on my desk, this title immediately caught my attention. Went, okay, I gotta look at this book because this is intriguing. So talk a little bit about what inspired the book. How did it come to be this?
Yeah, we started noticing the recipes in the newspapers, like we said, and we started just noticing them and talking about them. And eventually we said, okay, let's try some. It just sounds intriguing enough. The first time we cooked historic recipes from newspapers was with a larger group of colleagues at the Historical Society. They were all interested in more the Great Depression era food. So we picked some recipes and assigned them and had a potluck. And it was spinach, onion, Jell-O salad that I made at home.
It was
disgusting.
Yeah.
But interesting to make. And then I think we had a butterscotch macaroni pudding.
That one was good,
dessert.
actually.
Yeah. And it was just really intriguing. But then when everybody came together with the food, we were tasting it, and that was good. But the conversations we had around it, all the problems that we ran into at home. Like, I didn't know how to convert this, or what this meant when the recipe called for this, or how this should be cooked. And that's when we were hooked.
Yeah, we definitely realized there was a lot more to the process than just tasting the food itself. There's all this research that happens beforehand. So we started a monthly series called Cooking Up History, which was published on the Wisconsin Historical Society website, where each month we cook a recipe and then write about our experience cooking it. And what we learned, problems we ran into, our conclusion on the food itself, and
I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling a little jealous. My preparation for this show was reading a book. Your preparation was having a potluck. I'm a little jealous of that. That's a pretty good way to do some research right there.
But now you have 50 recipes.
And now you have 50 recipes, and these are all recipes that were in historic Wisconsin newspapers. What kind of year range are these recipes from?
So we looked at newspapers between the 1840s and the 1920s.
Okay.
So most of but I think the earliest recipe is 1870s. That's in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you notice trends as you were doing that? Did you notice trends about differences in these recipes versus what recipes might look like today, just because of some of the resources and things that were available back then?
Yeah, there's trends in all kinds of cooking preparation, right?
Yeah.
So the Instant Pot or air fryer of today
right?
used to be the paper
Wasn't
bag.
around. Yep.
There was a trend where they cooked everything in paper bags.
Yeah.
Took off for a while, and then the same that you see now, right? People ridicule it, make fun of the trends and how people forget how to cook the real way, and it was just the same in the 19-teens.
Yeah.
But then there's also textures. We have an essay about pasta and how they used to overcook it. I would say cook your pasta for 20 to 40 minutes, and it tastes so different if you overcook it like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we tried that out.
That is definitely not cooking it al dente.
No.
And
They wanted it really
very different.
Yeah.
We recommend the book.
Yeah, that would definitely be a different texture. I'm willing to try it once, but that's certainly a
It
turns
turns
texture.
eggy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Yeah, that would bring out the egginess in it. How long? I mean, you were talking about some of the preparation for going into this and some of the research, but how long a process was it from kind of the idea is there to the book is out?
I think unofficially, just when we were starting to think about writing a book and work on it our own, I think the process is about 4 years now that we've been working on it, and then about 2 years officially once the book process actually started. 2.5. Yeah, okay. It's a long process.
It's a very long process. It's I think I would have a hard time with that, and I think people don't realize just how long of a process that is and how grueling that can probably feel at times and go, okay, like I'm a year into this and I feel like we're only so far, like was this really worth it? But I think worth it in the end.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. And a lot of the process was so fun because a huge part of it was just meeting up together and cooking really exciting, interesting, and strange recipes together. So it really was a fun process. Yeah.
So there's the research, and then there's the cooking, and then there was photography involved, and we're 2 people, so we're doing it together.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's more fun than.
So I'm going to put you on the spot with accountability. Have you managed to actually make all 50 recipes?
Yes.
You have?
Of course.
Okay,
yeah, multiple times.
Multiple times. Yes. Wow. Yeah. So this isn't just like, we made like, maybe 20 of them and those are our favorites and the other ones like really looked good or we knew somebody that made them. This was like, we can speak to each of these.
We made them all.
We made more than 50 and only 50 made it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And was making all those recipes kind of part of what helped you narrow down to 50?
Yeah, and we also sometimes we wanted just a specific ingredient. So we looked for different recipes using it, and then thought, okay, what sounds great. It's also most of these recipes we can actually recommend making.
Yeah.
So none of the onion spinach Jello salad is not in there.
Good to know. We're chatting with Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, authors of the new book Extra Extra, Eat All About It. It contains 50 recipes from historic Wisconsin newspapers, but a lot of stories that go with it as well. We're going to get more into that in our next segment. This is Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome back to Hometown Today on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Hometown Today presented by Professional Floor Covering, also brought to you by McKinstry's Home Furnishings under the big red awning in downtown Beaver Dam. And of course, McKinstry's is excited to see everybody downtown tomorrow for Fall Downtown Fest. McKinstry's will be open, and stop in for the trick-or-treating and check out the big box maze out in the back parking lot. It is so much fun. They're going to be doing that again, so you can bring the kids, let them crawl through the maze for however long. They can stay busy for hours, I bet. And then you can come in the store and check out their 3 floors of great home furnishings and take advantage of their store-wide fall sale. McKinstry's Home Furnishings, downtown Beaver Dam, online at mckinstrysHomeFurnishings.com. And, of course, we'll be chatting with Sandy from McKinstry's coming up later on in the show, so looking forward to that conversation. Right now we're visiting with Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, authors of the new book, Extra Extra, Eat All About It, Recipes and Culinary Curiosities from Historic Wisconsin Newspapers. I wanted to talk a little bit about how you laid the book out, because it's kind of sectioned off in a very smart way. How did you go about figuring out kind of how to lay that out?
It's such a hodgepodge of different recipes
Yeah.
that we needed to somehow put them into sections. And so we started with breakfast and brunch, so kind of the early day, and then you can eat your way through the day, I guess. So salads and dressings, and sandwiches, and then more of the savory, bigger dishes, and then have dessert in the end, of course, and something to drink.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost, when you look at the table of contents, it almost kind of lays out like a restaurant menu in a way, where you've got, if you got a restaurant that serves, all different meals of the day, you've kind of got that breakfast section at the beginning, you get into that lunch type stuff. Yeah, it's kind of laid out like that.
Yeah, and we want it to be functional in that way, like a true cookbook. There's a lot of history in it, but you really can flip through it in a way that makes sense to cook out of.
There's 50 recipes in the book, pulled from historic Wisconsin newspapers. You've cooked and tried all these multiple times. Have you come across one or two favorites from the book? I know it's like for an author that makes, that's putting all these into a book, it's like picking a favorite child.
You'd think it'd be hard, but I always have a clear couple favorites in the book. I do. We have this recipe called Swimming Island, which is a great name in itself, so like visually descriptive. And I'm always drawn to the strange ones that sound like they could be bad. And this one, it's a German recipe, and it's a hard-boiled egg that you roll in cinnamon and sugar, which unexpected from the start. And then when I think Swimming Island, I don't think eggs. No, it's definitely not cinnamon and sugar on a hard-boiled egg. But, it starts getting a bit better. You put it in some batter, and then you start deep frying it. Deep fry it, put it in the batter, cinnamon and sugar again, deep fry it again, and you just keep repeating that until your batter's used up. And then you serve it with hot wine poured over. And it's actually surprisingly delicious and just really fun to serve. If you're having a dinner party, it's kind of an event in itself to bring that out.
I mean, that
it's
can
a great
be
dessert
centerpiece of a get-together, really.
Yes.
And, it sounds odd as you're talking about it, but if you really think about it and you think about eating a big breakfast and you think about egg, you're thinking about cinnamon and sugar, you're thinking about breading or frying something, about something kind of on the sweeter side, really it wouldn't be that much different. You're just constructing a different way if you had eggs and French toast with syrup. Yeah. In a way, right? Yeah. You kind of have the same kind of basis of it.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think from a savory dish, we love the stuffed onion cooked in a paper bag. And it's just, you boil the onion, you core it, and then you put a stuffing in there. And the recipe was very vague. Just stuff anything in there that could make a good stuffing. And then give some suggestions. So we went with meat and nuts, a good combination. We had to do all of this extra research of what nuts would have been available. So we looked at the ads from the grocery stores at the time, and they had a lot of pecans on sale. So pecans it is.
Oh, okay.
And then the kind of spices and herbs they would have used, we had to do all that research, and then it turned out to be just delicious. And it's put in a paper bag. We use parchment paper to make our own bag, and then it's steamed basically.
Okay.
And then you open it up, and the steam comes out, and the aroma. It's just it's really good. And it's on the more affordable side of things. We're making it next weekend again.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really a favorite. For another sweet, I love the sweet pickled peaches.
Oh, okay.
It's become a staple in my house. Every summer I pickle peaches.
Nice.
And they're great for holidays. It's apple cider vinegar, brown sugar, cinnamon, and cloves.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Open it for like Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Oh, sure.
And it just delicious on vanilla ice cream.
Oh, yeah, that is a good idea.
Yeah. Put the syrup in an old fashioned for like a spiced old fashioned.
Yeah.
Really good.
I do enjoy a peach flavor old fashioned, so that is a great idea. Well, now I'm glad I have the book, because now I'm going to have to make that recipe just for that part of it. Talking with Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, authors of the new book Extra Extra, Eat All About It. It's a collection of 50 recipes that were originally published in historic Wisconsin newspapers. Given that you're looking at all these recipes from newspapers back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. What is there any interesting story or factoid that you came across in all your research that kind of stuck out to you?
Everything.
Yeah,
everything.
Really,
I mean, it was very different time, and
Very
recipes
different
had to be
time.
based on what was available.
Yeah. We noticed a lot of the measurements weren't standardized yet. Right, it's your grandma's heirloom cup full of flour, but I don't have that.
Yeah,
cup,
or pinch of salt, or handful of macadamia nuts.
A dash of rum.
Okay, yeah, I never would have thought. Yeah, I suppose there wasn't a whole lot of real accurate measuring cups back in those days.
Yeah,
that's interesing. That's something you don't think
same
about.
Same with temperatures. Just bake it in a quick oven. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So
we had so much deciphering to do with that, and like so much research we had to do beforehand just to cook the recipe itself. Yeah.
Wow. Now, did you have to, in some of these recipes, because of that, did you in your research kind of have to find those like more exact cook times and exact measurements and kind of convert that for the book?
Yeah.
We did to help our readers. Yeah. So they are easily made in our modern kitchens now. So there won't be any deciphering that readers have to do on their end.
I want to ask about, and I hope it's okay. I was going to ask you about this in advance. I want to ask about the dedication. The Sunday night dinner crew. Can you tell us a little bit? I noticed that, and that stuck out to me. Tell me a little bit about the Sunday night dinner crew, because it sounds like fun.
Yeah, when we started cooking in the beginning, that was pre-COVID. We were able to bring everything into work and have people just try it there, because at the Historical Society you have a lot of history-minded people. But then with kind of COVID and working from home, cooking together over Zoom, we kind of had our pod that was trying recipes out. So the smaller groups that we were meeting with, and that turned into a weekly dinner parties afterwards, and that's our Sunday night dinner crew. We still meet up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Still have dinners, and it was so fun to cook for them. Because they knew what we were doing. They were really interested, and they said, whatever you want to put on the table, we'll try it.
Yeah, we had some fearless eaters in that group, which was very helpful.
Pressure of having to serve the perfect Sunday night dinner.
Yeah.
It was just, hey, we found this recipe, you should try it.
Yeah, you kind of need some guinea pigs willing to go, I'll try it even if it's not very good.
Yeah.
You kind of need that for a project like this. That is great. Extra, Eat All About It. It's a book filled with 50 recipes from historic Wisconsin newspapers, and again, it's worth mentioning that it's really it's kind of unique in the fact that it's not a history book, but it's kind of all of that in one. You get those 50 recipes, but it's not just 50 pages and just your recipes. There's a story behind everything, and there's a tie-in to just some of Wisconsin's history in general. And there's a number of historic Wisconsin newspapers you pulled from. One, in fact, I think there's actually two pretty locally here from Watertown that has a couple of recipes in here.
The newspapers we digitize are from all over Wisconsin. And,
okay. So there was a couple of historic Wisconsin Watertown newspapers in there, so you can check that out and get the book.
One of the really old, like the mayonnaise recipe.
I noticed the mayonnaise recipe from a Watertown newspaper. I thought that was really interesting. I want to talk about a couple of the chapters in here. We got just a minute or two to chat about that. First and foremost, towards the beginning of the book, early on in the book, obviously there are recipes. You talk a lot about food, but you do address kind of how cooking happened differently back then, because there is a chapter on cookware.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, in that chapter, we chose to highlight a local company, Miro, that made a lot of aluminum cookware. As we were making breakfast puffs and kind of thinking about, well, what would our ancestors have cooked these breakfast puffs in a tin? And it was great, to highlight a piece of local Wisconsin history. And what really was surprising about Miro was that it costs so much more than other competitor kind of similar products you could use at the time.
Sure.
I think we have in here that if you were going to buy a just basic enamelware kettle with a tin lid would cost about 25 cents back then, which is roughly $4 today. But if you were going to buy a Miro branded kettle, it would be $3.80, which is about $65 today.
Wow.
But the company was insanely popular. It really took off, and I think a lot of the listeners today are familiar with Miro and its products, and if you go into any thrift store, you will find a lot of those old aluminum pieces, which I would recommend picking up. I have, and I use them in my kitchen now, and they're great.
Yeah, you like cooking on those?
I do, yeah.
Well, and like you mentioned before, too, obviously, just the appliances and other things like that looked so different back then. You didn't have the air fryers and pizza ovens and things like that. So that's really interesting. Obviously, you hit on a couple of Wisconsin staples in here. There's plenty of recipes that include cheese. Of course, think about Wisconsin, and there is a section on the commercialization of cheese. But you hit on another Wisconsin staple in there, Door County cherries. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. We definitely knew that we needed to include cherries in our book. Door County cherries are such a staple. And it was really interesting reading articles about tourism headed to Door County to pick cherries, and that it used to be a really popular place to send your kids in the summer.
Right.
And they'd send them to a summer camp, which was a fun time for the kids, but they'd actually be picking cherries all day for
cheap labor.
Yeah, they're very cheap labor. But I imagine, it probably was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun for us to go cherry picking.
Fun for us to go cherry picking. I'd enjoy it with all your friends your age, but it eventually got shut down, that practice, with child labor protection laws. Yeah. And we did fact check this, and it is true that they used to use dynamite. A couple people did way in the past to break up the bedrock in Door County. It was so close to the surface of the soil they needed to plant their trees in that a couple farmers resorted to dynamiting, blowing up the ground.
Wow.
Because they're not native. The trees aren't native to Door County. So planted. But they like the climate.
Yeah, the climate was perfect. Yeah, and the bay, it kind of gave them this perfect kind of isolated climate that worked well. They just had to work with that bedrock. Yeah.
There's also a chapter in here that you talked about. There is some beverages in here, and one of those has ties to Wisconsin and some history here that I learned about in this book, which was Swiss Miss hot chocolate. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was new to us too. So we were learning about hot chocolate, and we found different recipes. And I went to Mexico to learn more about cacao and how it's grown there. But then it turns out that Swiss Miss is a local product, and that it was kind of a post-war. This company had this military contract to make that dried milk powder, and they had so much extra that they needed to figure out what to do with, and they started cooking at home and turning it into hot chocolate. And at first it wasn't quite shelf stable yet because the fat was still in it, but they worked it out and first had it in restaurants and on airlines. Mm-hmm. And people loved it so much that it would just disappear into people's pockets. And then they figured out a way how to launch it at the grocery stores.
Wow, so fascinating. There are so many, and we're almost out of time, but there's so many other really interesting sections in here. I mean, they all are great stories. Obviously, we know they're good recipes. They've been tested time and time again. But I mean, we didn't even get to chat about, there's a chapter on oysters, which might not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think Wisconsin recipes. There's a chapter, a really interesting read on cottage cheese propaganda, which is a great story. So I highly encourage you to pick up the book, check it out. And we're just scratching the surface on some of these recipes and some of these stories. And it's one of those great things because it's one of those books that you can either keep in the kitchen or you can keep in the study or the living room. It kind of fits anywhere. First off, we want to make sure we let folks know, where can they find the book?
At your local bookstore.
Okay.
Yeah. Just anywhere. They can order it if they don't have it in stock.
Okay, and can they find you online, social media, website, anything like that?
Yes, we are on Instagram at Cooking from the Columns, and we're still cooking up new recipes that are not in the book as well. So give us a follow if you just want to see us cooking neat things in our kitchens. Yeah.
And you're kind of out and about a little bit, promoting the book. We appreciate you coming here today. You got a few more stops over the next couple of days yet, if folks want to stop out and learn a little bit more about the book.
Yeah, tonight we'll be in Oconomowoc at Books and Company. And on Sunday, we'll be at Arcadia and Spring Green.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap up that folks should know about Extra Extra, Eat All About It?
Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just, cooking historical recipes can be so much fun. It doesn't have to be intimidating. And while you wait for your oven to preheat, you can read one of the essays.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah, I do. I love that you can, you've got the recipes that you can try, but there's really a story attached to everything. And if you're somebody like me who just kind of enjoys learning a little history, there's a lot of that in here. So.
And it's bite-sized.
And it's very, it is. It's very, it's food related. It's quite literally very digestible and bite-sized. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. You can, and that's the other nice thing. You don't have to read it from front to back. You can just kind of start at any point if something piques your interest. And it's really, it's easy to sit down for a few minutes and just read a little bit about one little section. And if you need to step away, you can. So that's really handy. Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden are the authors of the new book, Extra Extra, Eat All About It, Recipes and Culinary Curiosities from Historic Wisconsin Newspapers. Highly encourage you to go out and find the book today. It is really a great read. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. We'll be back with more Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
by Daily Dodge.
Welcome back to Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Also brought to you by McKinstry's Home Furnishings. Our thanks again to Jane Conway and Randi Julia Ramsden, the authors of the new book, Extra Extra, Eat All About It, who joined us in the last hour of Hometown Today. Again, it's a great book. Pick it up. It's a great read. Easy read. 50 recipes from historic Wisconsin newspapers that they were able to dig up and put a little story behind each one of those recipes. So you get to learn a little history as well. Hometown Today is presented by Professional Floor Covering, the store for your floor, and so much more. Make sure to stop by and check out their great lineup, including their great lineup of carpet, including the Stanton carpet line, which is a really nice, durable, luxury feel, great for stairs, great for custom area rugs and runners. They've also got the Abbey carpets, and they've got over 40 rolls of carpet in stock. And of course, during the Gold Take sale this month, any of that in-stock carpet comes with the free carpet cushion as well. They've also got a very diverse selection of luxury vinyl plank, hardwood flooring, porcelain tile, area rugs. They've also got a great selection of countertops, kitchen cabinets. If you're renovating your bathroom, they've got you covered pretty much from floor to ceiling with walk-in showers, vanities, countertops, the latest in waterproof flooring as well. And as always, they offer free in-home measurements and quotes and a free in-store consultation. So visit their beautiful showroom at 713 Park Avenue in Beaver Dam, or take a virtual tour at PROFLR.com. And again, a reminder coming up later tonight, high school football on the air. It is the postseason, and Beaver Dam going to be traveling up to Menasha. We'll have that game over on our sister station, 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam and Daily Dodge TV. And Columbus football hosting Arcadia. That would also be live streaming on Daily Dodge TV tonight. 6:40 for the pregames, 7 o'clock for the tip-off. And if you want to hop on the Daily Dodge TV YouTube, you can keep flipping back and forth if you want. That's what I'll be doing tonight at home with the kids. We'll be flipping back and forth, seeing how Columbus is doing, seeing how Beaver Dam is doing. So looking forward to that. On our next hour coming up here in just a moment, we're going to be visiting with the Beaver Dam Community Library, Anita Strike from the library, and Roger Noll, local Beaver Dam historian, talking about really great upcoming presentation that's going to be coming next week to the Beaver Dam Library. We'll chat about that when we come back on Hometown Today from 95.3 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. To Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering here on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. And excited to speak with our next guest. We are joined now by Anita Strike with the Beaver Dam Community Library. We also have local Beaver Dam historian Roger Noll with us. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Always nice to visit with the two of you because you've always got something fun happening over at Beaver Dam Community Library, and we'll be talking about some of those coming up. But in the very, very near future, and the reason we've got Roger here with us today is you've got a presentation coming up next Tuesday at Beaver Dam Community Library. Talk a little bit about what you're going to be presenting.
Yeah, I'm going to be showing my documentary on Beaver Dam and World War II. It's kind of like a pre-veterans day type presentation. I originally did it in 2016, which was the 175th anniversary of Beaver Dam's founding. It actually was a 4-year project. The actual name of it is Beaver Dam and World War II as presented in the Beaver Dam Daily Citizen. So back then when the Citizen had offices and everything, Aaron Holbrook, the editor, allowed me to take all of the hard copies of this Daily Citizen during the 1941 through 1945, take them home, and I made over 1,000 scans.
Oh, wow.
Of the paper, and then edited it down to this documentary. And to tell you the truth, I think it's the best thing I've ever done. And I've only shown it, I believe, 3 times.
Okay, so this is a pretty rare opportunity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so fair to assume, so you'll be showing the documentary and then kind of have some talking and conversation about it then? Is that how that will work?
Well, if they have questions, sure. But no, not really.
Okay.
I'll let the documentary speak for itself.
Kind of a screening type situation.
There will be beforehand a Popeye World War II cartoon because Popeye is mentioned within had an association with Beaver Dam. So.
Oh, okay, very interesting. So this is a documentary you put together yourself,
right?
Did you have to bring in any help to truly put the film together, or you kind of worked it all yourself?
No, I did it all myself.
Really?
Sure.
Wow. A man of many trades. I always learn something new about Roger. I feel like every time I visit with him, I feel like there's no skill unturned when it comes to Roger Noll. And let everybody know when they can come and check this out.
Well, it's Tuesday, 6 o'clock in the basement of the library. It's about a 40-minute film, documentary. And then the cartoon is probably like about 2-3 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. Very, very good. And that'll be happening at the beginning. We're visiting with Beaver Dam historian Roger Noll. We've also got Anita Strike from Beaver Dam Community Library coming up next Tuesday, October 29th, 6 p.m. In the lower level of the library. You can come check out Roger's Beaver Dam World War II documentary. I imagine a lot of interesting stories in there.
There really is. And it really focuses more on how Beaver Dam reacted to World War II. It looks at the industry that basically stopped everything just to work for the production of World War II. Monarch was huge. They shut down. They were not allowed to make stoves during this time period, except stoves for the military.
Sure.
And then they made what they called were Blitz cans, which were 10-gallon cans that could be used either for the carrying of gasoline or for the carrying of water.
Okay.
And this was very important. And they made over 1 million cans.
Wow.
During that time period.
That's a lot.
They also made huge artillery bombardments, basically shells
Shells
for the military. And I think they made something like 300,000 of those.
That is a lot of shells. We're chatting with Roger Noll, local historian, and Anita Strike from Beaver Dam Community Library. Again, next Tuesday, the Beaver Dam World War II documentary you can check out at the Beaver Dam Community Library. We're going to get into, learn a little bit more about some of the stories you might be hearing in this documentary coming up in just a little bit. We've got to step aside. We'll be back with more Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering, in just a few minutes on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome back to Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Hometown Today also brought to you by McKinstry's Home Furnishings under the Big Red Awning in downtown Beaver Dam. And we are joined now on the phone by Sandy over at McKinstry's. Good morning and happy Friday, Sandy.
Good morning to you.
Always a nice pleasure to chat with you every Friday, and I know you and your team over there are, as much as I am, really getting excited and ready for tomorrow.
Oh, yes. It's amazing at how many different things are going on in downtown Beaver Dam tomorrow. So everybody needs to make sure they get down here. Specifically at our store, of course, we're having the trick-or-treaters, and then we also have our box maze that Rick puts together every year, and it's different every year. The kids love it. They love crawling through those boxes.
They really do. I know the last 2 years we've brought our kids around, and I think if we let them, they'd probably be perfectly happy being in there for about 2 to 3 hours. So it is a lot of fun. And now the question is, so you're gonna be part of the trick or treat route. The question is, have you been able to keep Rick out of the trick or treat candy?
Oh, yeah, yes, we're good. We've got plenty here, okay? So everybody stop in.
So you'll have plenty. The kids can all stop in and do some trick-or-treating tomorrow.
Correct.
And, of course, it's also a great chance, if maybe you can have the kids playing in the box maze. Really, really good opportunity while folks are downtown to come into the store and check out everything you've got and take advantage of all the sales you've got going on in the store.
Yes, definitely. And the nice thing is the box maze is in the back of our store, and that entrance is right by our recliners.
Yeah.
So we do have, plenty of people coming in and trying out the recliners that day.
Yep, hey, you know what? That sounds like a perfect way to take advantage of that. And, of course, Sandy, as you have mentioned in the past, you have 3 floors of home furnishings, everything you need for your home, something for every look. One of the great things you have is you've got some really beautiful dining sets. Talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, so, the holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving is really not very far, and Christmas will be here before we know it. And it's nice to have a new table that you feel is sturdy for your family to sit by, and you can, serve your feast on then. And we have all kinds of different sizes. We have little drop leaves, we have round tables, we have big long tables, high dining. We have little island pieces that, we even have like 2 stools and stuff. So there's such a variety of what you can do based on your sizing and your needs.
Yeah, and you bring up such a great point. The holidays coming up. A lot of us will be hosting holiday meals, and nothing is worse than putting hours of work into this beautiful, delicious holiday meal and like having to cover up your ugly old table with an old dining cloth or something. It's nice to have a piece that you can sit down and can be a really beautiful addition to the meal.
What's even worse is if you sit down and then the chairs break or something.
Yeah, your guests are sitting down and going, "Am I going to be safe in this, or am I going down?"
So if you aren't in the market for a new dining set, but you go to your chairs and they're a little wiggly and stuff, and they're wood, we can of course re-glue those. So bring those on in. We can glue them. We basically knock them all apart, put glue in all the joints, and put them in clamps, and make them sturdy again.
Yeah, that's a really great reminder because obviously you do have a great selection of furnishings there, but you do have a great service department there to make those repairs.
Yes, we do.
What else? Anything else folks should know going on at McKinstry's Home Furnishings?
Well, we're really excited, but we're also excited about that Beaver Dam and Columbus football team tonight.
Yes.
We wish them luck. We're hoping everything goes their way tonight.
And hopefully everybody, if you can't make it to the games, hopefully folks are watching on Daily Dodge TV while sitting in their comfy home furnishings from McKinstry's.
Yes, and we are a sponsor of that Daily Dodge TV, too. We feel it's so important to, for those people that can't make it, sometimes grandparents can't make it to the games and stuff. It's just nice to have that option that they can watch their grandchildren and friends. It
really is, and we so appreciate McKinstry's and our other partners who make all that possible because I know, Sandy, you and the team at McKinstry's really are big on supporting the local community.
Most definitely.
Very good. That is Sandy from McKinstry's Home Furnishings, downtown Beaver Dam. Sandy, cannot wait to see you down there tomorrow.
Yes, see everyone tomorrow.
All right, Sandy from McKinstry's Home Furnishings. They can't wait to see everybody at Fall Downtown Fest. We're going to get some news. When we come back, we're going to chat some more with Anita Strike with the Beaver Dam Community Library and Beaver Dam historian Roger Noll. That's coming up on Hometown Today from 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome back to Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Don't forget the gold take sale going on now during the month of October at Professional Floor Covering, so it's a great time to stop in if you've been even maybe thinking about or considering a project, whether it's just in one room of the house or you're redoing the whole house, or maybe you just bought a new house getting ready and thinking about maybe replacing something. This is a great time to take advantage of the gold take sale. Check out their great selection of carpets. They've got over 40 rolls of in-stock carpet. Not only is it on sale during the Gold Take sale, but it also comes, all that in-stock carpet comes with the free carpet cushion as well during the Gold Take sale. They've got Abbey carpets, Stanton carpets, all those great brands. They can also set you up with your selection of LVP flooring, real hardwood flooring. They've got the wool carpet if you want to go with a greener option in the carpet. They've also got you set up with everything you need for your bathroom renovation. Stop in 713 Park Avenue in Beaver Dam, or take a virtual online, proflr.com. And of course, they'll provide you with free in-home measurements and quote, and take advantage of a free in-store consultation as well. Professional Floor Covering, the store for your floor, and so much more. We are visiting with Anita Strike from the Beaver Dam Community Library and Beaver Dam historian Roger Noll as we get set for a screening of Roger's Beaver Dam World War II documentary next Tuesday evening at the Beaver Dam Community Library, 6 p.m. in the lower level of the library, free of charge. As always,
free of charge,
as most
and
of those
I
great
usually have
are.
light refreshments too.
Okay, very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about the documentary. We talked a little earlier about one of the interesting stories with Monarch Range, but talk a little bit about what was going on in Beaver Dam just prior to World War II.
Well, what's interesting is that Beaver Dam actually literally was, the life in Beaver Dam was given to the entire world. There was a magazine that was put out by the military. It was called Yank Magazine, and one of the stories in that, Yank went to all 7 continents wherever there was a U.S. soldier, and there was actually an article about life in Beaver Dam during World War II.
Really?
Yeah, and we in the documentary we read through that entire story.
Okay, very interesting. What about after World War II?
Well, we cover that a little bit in that. Obviously, there was a big boom when World War II ended. The mayor of the city, Clarence Keller, actually took us all the way from the Depression through to that end of that boom. So we kind of speak a little bit about that, how all of a sudden housing projects came along the city, and when our boys came back, the women left the factories and were replaced by the men.
Such different times. It's so interesting to think about that. What other stories? What other kind of stories are we going to hear with the screening of this documentary?
Well,
will we be hearing stories of particular soldiers?
Yes. I picked out, and there were so many stories.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I picked out 4. But I can give you 2 that I didn't pick.
Okay.
That I think were
Sure.
just as amazing. So there was an aviator, a pilot. His name was Reuben Kaiser. He was actually my next door neighbor as I grew up.
Really?
Yeah, and he flew missions from Italy over Germany. And one of those missions, he took heavy flak, and he wasn't able to make it all the way back. And so he thought he could maybe make it back to Italy. His gas line was hit, and just over the Adriatic, he had to ditch his plane. So he ditches the plane, and he tries to get all of his men out, and his hatch won't open. So he has to kick out the window in front of him and escape. And then he sees that 2 of his crew members are not able to get out of their hatch. So he crawls along the, and of course the thing's sinking all the time as this is going on.
Wow.
He crawls back over his plane, reaches that hatch, and was able to get that open and get his two guys out. Wow. And so they sat in the Adriatic Sea in their rubber rafts for a couple of days until a British submarine picked them up.
Wow.
In the Adriatic. And so this was obviously a big story for Beaver Dam. And he ended up being on the BBC.
Wow.
And it was broadcast back here in Beaver Dam, and he's telling the story, and they're just kind of talking, And he goes, well, that's nothing. A month earlier, I crash-landed in Yugoslavia.
Seems like this guy should stay away from planes. I don't know.
I crash-landed in Yugoslavia, and this was just as Tito was getting the Germans out of Yugoslavia, but the Germans still had a huge presence, and he landed behind the lines of Germany, and his crew were picked up by Yugoslavian, nationalists, and for 5 days they traveled through the kind of like the jungles of Yugoslavia to get them to the Adriatic Sea where they could be picked up.
Wow. Incredible. Again, Beaver Dam in World War II, the documentary, Roger Noll's documentary that he put together, screening this coming Tuesday evening, October 29th, 6 p.m. In the lower level of the Beaver Dam Community Library. A lot of stories we're going to hear. What other kind of stories can folks expect to hear?
Well, I'll just to add to that.
Yeah.
Reuben Kaiser was like the most mild-mannered person in the world, and if you remember. He ended up having a shoe repair store down on South Spring Street.
Oh, okay.
So, well, I'll tell you my dad's story.
Okay.
My dad, he entered in 1942, and they sent him to Dallas, to Texas, so he could train for Africa, but then they did pretty well in Africa. So then they sent him to Louisiana, so he could train for Italy. Then they took Italy. Then they sent him to California so he could train for Japan. But then D-Day was coming up, so then they sent him to Pennsylvania so they could train for a European excursion.
Okay.
So he ended up being in the what was called D-Day plus 100. Once they secured the beaches of Normandy and the others. 100 days later, they brought in just tons of manpower for the push across France and across into Germany. So he was in the 95th Infantry, which is called the Iron Men of Metz. If you want to look that up, it's an amazing story. Metz was the most fortified area in France. It was just before you went into Germany. It's just cement bunkers, impenetrable. And he was part of that went into there. But anyway, so on one of his excursions, they were on the front lines, and one of his friends, they were such a close-knit group, either stepped on a landmine or it was a grenade, but blew off this guy's legs from his knees down.
Oh, wow.
So my dad and another guy secured tourniquets to stop the bleeding. And then they took their rifles and they made like a little seat. And they walked this guy through enemy lines for 3 miles to get him back to a hospital.
Wow.
And he left him there obviously and went back to his troop. And then and he didn't know if the guy lived or died or anything.
Yeah.
So years later, they're at a 95th reunion in Chicago, and this guy comes in this wheelchair, and they recognize each other immediately. Wow. And the guy hugged my dad and said, you gave me my life. He was able to come home, start his own business, have a family. Just an amazing story. And then to top that off, so my dad's goes back to the front at the Mets, and he gets shot, and it goes through his cheek and comes out the back of his ear. And amazingly, it was like a 1 in a million shot because it didn't hit any of the skull. And my dad says the only thing he remembers was that the medic came by and said, looked at it and, bandaged him up and said, you're fine, Noll, it's right through. And so they sent him back to England to a hospital. And you would think that'd be a free trip home, right? But no, they sent him back, and then he, was with the liberation troops in Germany, and then they were going to send him to Japan.
Oh man!
But then the H-bomb happened, and
sure,
and he didn't have to go to that. But man, what?
As Monty Python would say, "'Tis but a flesh wound," is essentially how they treated that one.
And I mean, it was amazing. The surgeons did an amazing job because you could not tell whatsoever that he had been shot, and it affected his hearing a little bit, but otherwise, I mean, it really was a 1 in a million shot that he wasn't killed.
Incredible. You can hear more stories from some of Beaver Dam soldiers at the screening of Roger Noll's documentary about Beaver Dam in World War II and so many ties. And I know we talked earlier about Monarch Range and their role in World War II. You had pointed out to me over the break on your flyer for the event. You have a picture on there of those fuel tanks being made. I think, did you say 1 million of those they made?
Yeah.
Incredible. Now there's another picture here of a large truck carrying a very, very large shell. Is this the shells that Monarch was making?
No,
as well?
that's actually a Japanese submarine.
Okay, that's what that is. Oh.
That was a submarine that was captured at Pearl Harbor.
Oh, wow.
It's just a 2-man submarine.
Okay.
A Japanese, and they captured it, and then they took it around for bond rallies.
Oh, okay.
Across the United States.
Okay, very good. Anything else that folks can expect to hear about when they come check out the documentary on Tuesday?
Well, I think we have a lot of film of what it was like in Beaver Dam, thanks to Charlie Starkweather again. And I think people will enjoy seeing what Beaver Dam life was like. For instance, they tried to try and keep the morale up of the people here because those early days were not. But for instance, in Swan City Park, that was the first time that they started what was called Indian Night and also Circus Night. Where they would bring circus nights, and they would fill that park up to 10,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So, and obviously we have pictures of that. So.
Sure. A lot of interesting stories to learn about from Beaver Dam's history, and this I mean, I'm glad we have a local historian because this town really is filled with so much history. I just went to the Historical Society's Haunted History Walk last week,
right.
And that was learned so many stories about some of the folks that were here in the early days, and I mean, you talking about soldiers, there was one character we met from Beaver Dam's past that whose husband and son were unfortunately killed in the Civil War. And the son had joined at 14 and I think killed by 16. So there is so much history, and this is just another great example of it. So certainly if you want to learn more about Beaver Dam's ties to World War II, and there's a lot of them, come on out to Beaver Dam Community Library next Tuesday, the 29th, 6 p.m. Down in the lower level to check that out. Always appreciate it. And of course, if you have seen a Roger Noll presentation, it's thorough and you're going to learn a lot. So make sure to check that out. Anita Strike from the Beaver Dam Community Library is with us, and Anita has been so kindly sitting over there, kind of letting Roger do his part. But we've got this event coming up on Tuesday, but you've got a number of other events coming up as well at Beaver Dam Community Library.
Yeah, we always have something going on. Before we go into that, though,
Yeah.
I wanted to mention if anyone misses Roger's presentation, we do have his documentary that you can check out. I mean, Roger won't come along with it to tell you all the other stories, but it's something you can check out at the library as well.
Very good to know. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, if you still have a DVD player.
Yeah, I know. Even those are starting to become obsolete. I feel like I still have one. I'm holding on to mine.
Yeah,
so, well, talk about you've got a number of events on the calendar. Talk about some of those.
So right after Roger's program on Wednesday evening, we have Chef Amber Sawyer. She's been at the library before because she wrote a book about her harness racing and brought her horse and derrick before, but she's also a professional chef. So she's going to teach how to make fall-themed charcuterie boards and a fall-themed cheesecake.
Okay.
And there'll be samples after that.
I love a good charcuterie board.
That's for sure.
Good.
And that'll be on the 30th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
We do say to suggest to register. You can register online at the library website, www.cityofbeaverdam.com, or you can call into the library to register.
All right, very good.
And then we've been doing a charity crochet and knit-a-thon event for 21 years, and that is on the weekend, Saturday, November 2nd, from 10 to 2, and people can bring in donations of warm items November and December, and then we hand them out to different local charities, from the Dodge County Toy Bank to the different food pantries. There's also a tree that's outside Modern Woodman. We donate to that project, and a lot of people donate their time to make handmade items from blankets, mittens, and all of that. And so the event on November 2nd is kind of a celebratory time. I have food, and we have door prizes during that, and people will come and bring a project to work on, and it's just a really fun community event.
Yeah, and I know there's crocheting is very popular. A lot of people love doing that. So that's a great event coming up November 2nd from 10 until 2. And of course, you've always got something fun happening there. And can people hop on the library website and check out a list of all the upcoming events you've got going on? All the
events. We also put our events up on Facebook. So a lot of people like to follow us on Facebook and save the events, and then they get reminders. The other exciting thing is we're in a renovation project.
Yeah, I was going to ask about
there's
that. How's things
still
going?
time to donate, but so far we've raised $559,000.
Wow.
In addition to what the library board is going to contribute through the endowment fund.
And it's still a need for a little more. You still got some more projects to go yet that you guys.
Right.
How far along in the projects are you? I know obviously. You had been working on the roof area.
Project, that was the city-funded part of the project, and we've been working with an architect to kind of identify the future needs for the next 25 years of the library. One of the things, we're going to change the entrance to the parking lot side.
Sure.
And then update the service desks, as well as adding in some small study rooms and community meeting rooms, so community organizations can sign up to use those. And we'll try to get updated technology in there, so to make it easier for people's meetings.
Very good. And if people feel so compelled to donate, how can they do that?
They can do it through the foundation, and they can also come into the library. We have this pledge form that they can fill out, or otherwise there's a QR code on the brochure. And also on the city website, it's through the Beaver Dam Community Foundation.
Okay, very good. Again, so much great stuff happening over at Beaver Dam Community Library. Make sure you visit the website, follow them on social media, so you know what is happening over there, because there is always something fun to check out, including Roger Noll's presentation of his Beaver Dam in World War II documentary. That is next Tuesday night, the 29th at 6 p.m., lower level of the Beaver Dam Community Library. And Anita says she'll try to provide a few refreshments as well. So that's going to do it for Hometown Today, presented by Professional Floor Covering on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.